All right, welcome to another episode of the Critical Introvert Show. I'm your host, Senor Filth, and with my co-host, Benevolent Asshole. And again, we have Nate Kapnicky, and we're just kind of going over the recent going-ons with the COVID lockdowns in LA, and also the big news is, of course, the Kyle Rittenhouse thing. And I think there's a lot more to point out to it than just like the weird divisiveness that's going on. There's more to do with just media portrayal of these kind of stories and how would you call it, like the establishment views the regular person. I don't know. And you guys want to just start in with what you think is going on?
Well, I mean, the truth is this. This was something that was happening as a result of this, the Black Lives Matter movement and Antifa, getting out of control and trying to, take their anger out on destroying things, because they've had enough of things too, and we can never overlook that. But also at the same time, how they handle things is definitely through violence and definitely through damaging property, and it never seems to be in a civil manner.
Yeah.
At least not lately, anyway. And this young man, who is a human regardless of any legalities, wanted to protect the business of his family. And in doing so, he wanted to help others around there that were being negatively affected. And then, the peaceful protesters decide to intervene and cause trouble and try to pick a fight with someone who is armed. And this person, this young man, Rittenhouse, decides to defend himself rightfully so. And of course, he is, in the middle of this insane mob of people who are completely in our complex. They're in their reptile brain, not thinking about anything higher other than their fight or flight self.
Yeah.
And of course, Rittenhouse is, chased down by the mob, and he ends up killing two people and harming another, wounding another. And all this was caught on film by many sources, and these sources showed the film that was shown of him shooting these people. The evidence is overwhelming that he is completely innocent of murdering anybody. And it is just insane how the media has taken little sound bites and made him out to be this, white supremacist, what's it called?
Alt-right or whatever.
Well, yeah, just like all kinds of derogatory white male names. And it's hilarious because in the beginning they said that he was a racist and he killed people from the Black Lives Matter movement, and he killed them because they were of color. Yeah. And it's funny because they're all white, the people that he killed. And it's just amazing how much the media tried so hard to make this young man into such a evil person, and there is not one shred of evidence that shows anywhere that he is evil, that he's racist, that he doesn't have the right to defend himself. Nothing.
It makes me wonder, like, one thing that worries me about this is like you said, there's a lot of video evidence, and I remember, like, I saw all the video evidence like maybe within a day or two after it happened, and I was surprised to even hear Kyle Rittenhouse like on like his name being talked about in regular media, because I thought it'd just be like this underground thing and it was just not a story. And then all of a sudden like there's this claim that he's a murderer, he's a racist, and I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, how come I'm doing the research that like New York Times should be doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? And to this day, like, a lot of people just have this narrative and they're just sticking to it. And even us talking to that, you know, there's video evidence. And in fact, I'm gonna like I'll post links to all the video evidence that I can find. And how many people are going to take the time to watch those videos?
They won't.
You know? And like, how am I the asshole?
I mean, I hope so, but
but like, how am I the asshole for saying he acted in self-defense when I seen the footage myself? You know? And I'm offering it to other people.
Right. This whole thing is really all about, I mean, if anybody hasn't figured it out by now, it's all about, you know, just destroying the idea that we even have any rights at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what's the Constitution going to do for you when all the evidence is in plain sight in videos showing everything? I mean, there's more than enough evidence right from the beginning that shows, all the way from the beginning till the end. The evidence is overwhelming, and and it's like you have to go to court and prove so much, even with all that evidence, prove so much just to even think like, I might not even make this. I might not even win this case. And to me, that just shows that there really is no, you know, real justice in the court system. And there really is no rights that we have under this Constitution, because ultimately it comes down to the jury and the judge, and they get to decide. And you know, that's this belief that we have in this system is really what is holding this.
I don't think it's like a belief in the system. I think it's just, you know, abiding by it is another thing. Like, if the system, like the judicial system, like the idea of, you know, innocent until proven guilty, that's a great motto to have. But with something like this, like, they're trying to kind of ignore that concept just because they want to win. They want some kind of power. And
sure.
And, you know, if they followed how it should be, everything will be fine, but they're just ignoring it. And it's the ignoring the things that work just because, you know, it's trendy or some shit. Like, that's the main thing that's pretty scary about all this. You know?
Right.
And
it's the way that I see it is, you know, I mean, yeah, you're right in the sense of, you know, innocent until proven guilty, but we don't live in those times anymore.
Yeah.
And so the fact that people still believe in a system where you're guilty until proven innocent, that's even worse of a problem. Because, see, the thing is, when we have this, you know, like when we're abiding by these, you know, these laws, and we are, you know, practically believing in these laws as a government that, you know, the people want. You know, it starts off okay. You know, governments typically start off okay. They start off in a way where, you know, we can kind of all agree that this kind of oh, there we go. We can all agree that this kind of works, and maybe there's not we can't come up with any better solutions at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, as we've been shown in history, all through history, that all governments, I don't know if you can prove to me any other government that's ever not become tyrannical, other than the current governments, which they've all really become tyrannical, especially in these past 2 years.
Yeah.
Then it's like, well, maybe there is something else that we're not really paying attention to that I think we need to look at more. And I think that is the belief in authority, because the belief in authority tends to be the reason that we're in these situations collectively,
Yeah.
That's all.
But like, how did it get like so, I don't know, like strong, like the belief in authority? Like, even when, as far as when people don't do their own research, they're people that, like, they just trust the experts. So like the experts will do my thinking for me. There is something kind of like authoritarian in that. And I have no idea like how that became the norm. Like, if you were to recommend a movie to me, even if like you have the same taste as me, I'm still gonna have to watch it myself to say and judge it on my own, taste, and make my own decision. But with stuff like this, like, it's like I said, it's people that are smarter than me gonna think for me, and I'm just gonna go with what they say. And like, it's scary that it's become so, like, just so the norm, and it's disappointing to see like people not trust themselves to, like, think for themselves. And
Absolutely.
I don't know.
And I don't think it's a belief in authority figures. I mean, maybe part of it is,
Mm-hmm.
but what it
Whoops.
is too is that we've been ingrained with, like, Hollywood,
Yeah.
that a lot of it's predictive programming. So the same way that you watch like a movie and you're like, okay, I can tell like who's a bad guy and who's a good guy. It's always like black and white, kind of like good guy, bad guy in almost every single movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way that the media is able to manipulate these characters, these real life people in real life, and to say, okay, this is the bad guy. And then,
Yeah.
so people are just kind of looking at the movie. So they're participating in this movie that they've created for you. So it's not even like about you're obeying the authority. You're just like, okay, I want to be on the right side of things.
Yeah.
And based off of the perspective that they've created, this false reality that they created for you, you think you're there on the right side of things, but they're not.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say.
Yeah, there's something, I think, like, I don't know, call it like alluring to people, of like viewing it as a total right or a total wrong. Like middle ground is somehow viewed as, I don't know, as wrong now. And yeah, I think there is something about the storytelling aspect of shit that
Yeah, I think so.
grabs people.
It just renders government and authority and laws obsolete, because they're not really paying attention to that. I mean, the rules are there, but then the rules can be manipulated to fit that narrative that they've painted for you.
Yeah.
And like, you look at the Constitution, like there's like some good things in there too. But I mean, if you look at the beginning of the Constitution, I don't know where I heard this, but it's like it's like you're getting conned into believing this. It's like,
Sure. Yeah.
okay,
Sure.
it's a lot of things in the Constitution are good, but what happens is that it's manipulated in different ways to fulfill a certain narrative or agenda. So
Yeah.
it's like it's good, but then it's manipulated. It's not used the way it's supposed to be used by both
Right.
sides.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's very arbitrary.
Yep.
I mean, I look at it like this. You have, like, I think of the frog boiling.
Yeah.
You put a frog in some, cold water, and then slowly turn up the heat over time. And before the frog knows it, he's being boiled, and he doesn't know it, And so
Yeah.
that's how this is orchestrated. You get people to buy into your agendas by telling them the truth about everything, and then slowly, incrementally start putting bullshit into what you're saying to get them to be swayed one way or the other.
Yeah.
And, you know, when it comes to, you know, like, I guess my case on the authority would be that, you know, for instance, when it comes to this whole past 2-year event with this virus, people turn to someone or someone, you know, someone with credentials and say, well, I'm going to listen to this person because they have the highest credentials of anyone. They have the biggest voice. Their voice is everywhere. They're all over the mainstream media. They've got to be right. Otherwise, people wouldn't listen to them, and there's no way they would have that platform. And there's no way that these media oracles would even bother with these types of people. And then, you know, the other form of authority that I'm speaking about is like, you know, just the belief that it's okay to support order followers who enforce these arbitrary laws enforced by the state.
Yeah.
And, you know, by saying, hey, you can't have a job, or you can't you can't go into this store to buy your food anymore because you don't have a green pass. You can't buy a firearm without a green pass now. How about that?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, it's just like this is what I'm speaking about when I talk about the belief in authority. So it's because, you know, to say that it's totally okay to think like that kind of thinking is all right. It's not, because it's really saying like, oh, I believe it's totally fine for my neighbor to be threatened because they don't want to do the same thing I want to do, which is I want to take the shot, and my neighbor doesn't want to take the shot, but I don't want him living next to me. So I'm gonna tattletale on him to get him in trouble. You know, just like what they're doing in Australia right now.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like you have to take pictures of yourself and, you know, and tell the government what you're up to just so you can leave your house. I mean, it's insane. You know, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to authority. So
do you think
just
that
wanted to make that clear.
Do you think that comes from like I've heard someone, I don't know who, but bring up this kind of idea, but that kind of comes from like the public school system, like the idea of like the person in charge, listen to them and follow what they say. That's something that's like sort of ingrained in us from a very early on. I don't know, I've been thinking more about that, but I don't know where I got that from, but
Oh, I want to like plug one thing in like really quickly. Like I'm
What's
not gonna
up?
go on, but just like a name. I was watching a documentary that somebody did like on Rumble. His page is called Logical Faction. He's done like a lot of really good videos. He always does these amazing presentations. But he did a presentation on Edward Bernays, and he
Okay.
goes over how he wrote a book called Propaganda. And in his book, he talks about like how um, he used a lot of like authority figures or like people who are called professionals or doctors to sway the public, to
Yeah.
influence the public. So that's how there use in the documentary he puts like a reel of like different commercials
Mm-hmm.
on where there's like doctors that are like promoting cigarette smoking. They're like, oh yeah, like
Yeah.
only Dr. So and so like smokes camels, and yeah, these are the best camels for to trust.
Yeah.
And people believed it, and that's why so many people like back in the 50s, I think 40s, smoked so much. But yeah, like that documentary, you can find it on Rumble. It's called the channel's called Logical Faction or the Logical Faction. And the guy that wrote the book Propaganda, it's called Edward Bernays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Edward Bernays. So that's like a really. I haven't read the book, but this guy, he's talked about him before, and like he always has like really good examples of how they've used propaganda on us. So.
Isn't I heard something that like some relative of Edward Bernays like works or for Netflix or something like that.
Probably.
I heard some shit like that, but I know wasn't.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, I think Edward
I think
Bernays
he's, like,
was related to Carl Jung, wasn't he? Or was it?
Oh, no,
Or Freud? Wasn't he?
Yeah,
I think he was
Freud.
related to
I think
someone.
so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think he was related to Freud. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That was his dad. I think.
Like I think it was like
Sigmund
a.
I have to go back.
I think it was
He's related
to
like his
him.
uncle or some shit like that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, but like to go on the propaganda tip, it's wild to see like how blatant it is, but to see it work so well. And
Yep.
you know, did you guys see that thing of that, like SNL did tried to do a smear on Rogan like last week, I think.
Oh yeah, it was so bad.
It was terrible.
Oh, that was hard to watch.
Yeah, but like, do people not know what that is, or I just wonder, like the people laughing, you know.
Yeah, you would hope so. You would hope so. For the sake of humanity, you would hope so. But it does. I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't see people really catching that at all. But they, you know, I feel like if I were to bring something up like that to somebody, they would just be like, "Oh, I don't even like SNL anyway. It's just bad." But like instead of just seeing the blatant, horrible mockery that is like done so poorly, it's just.
But yeah. Like I try to tell people, you also have to think of like the reach it has. Like,
right.
I don't know how many people watch that, but they're getting, you know, messages from that. And I don't want to sound like a crazy guy, but like if someone's selling some kind of an idea, that's technically kind of what propaganda is. It's like a marketing thing. So
here's a quote by Edward Bernays. He says, "The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country."
Yeah, that's like a great quote. Yeah, that was like in the documentary. So it was like, I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
But that goes with like this Rittenhouse shit. Like, it was just a lot of people just want him guilty because their television has been telling him that he's been guilty, and nothing else. You know, and I mean,
the court of public opinion is like really, really strong. It's like that's why this is happening. They're allowing it just because of the common consensus, and that's how they're getting away too with like the whole climate change.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, oh, the consensus. Like that's not science. Like when a bunch of people agree on something, it doesn't mean that it's right. It only takes one person to disprove like those. Like 100 scientists, 200 scientists. It doesn't. I don't care how many people agree on one thing. If something is off, you only need one person to disprove it.
Yeah. It's really like butchered. It's really like just destroyed science in general. Like this COVID crazy culture. Like, you're not supposed to just look at something as the truth and everyone follow it. It's like, it's a lot more complicated. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of, there's a lot of things that may prove it, and there's a lot of things that will disprove it, and there's things that will just, that are just unknown. And but it seems like that's dead, or they're trying to kill that, I think.
Yeah.
You guys know of the Milgram
The what?
experiment, right?
Say it again.
Milgram experiment.
No, talk
Not
about
sure.
it.
So basically, it's an experiment that was where a guy in a lab coat would sit at a desk with a person who is going to take a test, right? And this test is a test that where the I don't know what to call them, like the person in there, I can't remember, they're the experimenter, but they believe that there is somebody in the other room, because there really is somebody in the other room, but they believe that this person is hooked up to these electrodes, okay? And what the guy in the lab coat represents is he is the authority figure who tells the person who is sitting right next to him to turn this little dial, he flicks this switch, and this switch sends an electric shock to a person that this person doesn't even know who's in the next room. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I think maybe the person does meet the person first, just to know that there is somebody in there. I haven't watched it in a long time, but the point is that the guy in the lab coat makes the person in the same room as him believe that the person in the other room is being shocked.
Yeah.
And so each switch is a higher voltage of electric, right? And so the person typically gets to like 20, and the guy in the lab coat keeps telling him to do it, and then the person is just like, switch, and then the person hears the person in the other room going, ah, every time it gets louder and louder to the point where there's like, they start looking at the guy in the lab coat like, this guy's getting hurt, man. I don't know if this is a good idea. And then the guy in the lab coat goes, nope, keep going. He's fine. And they keep doing it, and the screams get louder to the point where it's like painful. Like you can tell that this person is in a lot of pain. And then he'll look like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And then the guy in the lab coat goes, no, keep going. He's fine. And then he would hit the switch, and then some people would go most people, sadly, went all the way, believing that they were torturing somebody. Yeah. And then a couple of those people made it to this one part where they were flicking the switch and not hearing anything anymore. And they're like, oh my God, I don't hear him anymore. You got to watch it. It's called the Milgram Experiment.
Is there video of that?
You have to watch it. I think it's been done a few times, but it's definitely something that you should watch, just so you understand how easy it is for people to, give the belief over to these authority figures.
Yeah, I think I found a clip.
It's really interesting. Totally worth watching, especially the older ones. Look for the older ones, not the newer ones. I think even that magician David Brown or something Brown, can't remember his name. But anyway, he did that experiment too, which was really neat.
Okay, I think I found it. See if I can play it. All right. Oops, shit.
A decade earlier, psychologist Stanley Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority. In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Would you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. Where? Teacher.
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game, and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect. He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer, horse.
Jeez.
Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go on. Let me out.
You refuse to go on? The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor, and the so-called shocks harmless.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
Jeez.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of
You
here.
can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man, eh? I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. All right, next one. Slow. Walk, dance, truck, music.
Two-thirds of volunteers were prepared to administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so by what they perceived as a legitimate authority figure. In this case, a man in a white coat.
375 volts. I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer. He was hollering for less voltage. Can't you check in and see if he's all right, please?
Milgram's findings horrified America. They showed that decent American citizens were as capable of committing acts against their conscience as the Germans had been under the Nazis.
Wow. That's some shit, man.
That's how they kind of like subvert laws and rules and
This video was made
people's own morals.
Yeah.
Just by using like these key words. Oh, it's a requirement. It's a mandate. And just, oh, it's this and that. And
Yeah.
so people comply. So
Yep.
people are like, but it's not like all these mandates, they're not really like laws or rules.
Yeah, they're
And
just they're just the
mandates,
collective
like,
wants this.
yeah, it's like somebody telling you just, oh, get on your knees. It's like, well, if you get on your knees, you're the one that's the idiot.
Yeah, it has like a high school feel to it, like, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, you know, the jock won't date you or some shit. So,
But
Yeah,
as you
that's
saw, that guy was what, like 50 some years old,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
It's a requirement.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, we're like, people don't understand. We're very easily programmed beings.
Mm-hmm.
We can be manipulated very easy. And I think a lot of people have too much ego and pride and thinking that, oh, no one controls my mind. I'm never swayed by anything. I'm totally unmanipulative.
Yeah.
You know, like no one can, I'm invincible. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you, but
Yeah.
you're being manipulated right as we speak.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
just
I
don't
think
know it.
yeah, I think we're all being manipulated like to like some degree.
Right.
And even like the people that are not aware of it, it's because it's like a tough word for me to say, but it's like it's a lot of it is compartmentalized.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where like
They
you
are
don't
very
know the
close.
extent of like the whole process.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people too that worked in the hospitals, each one of them had like a certain procedure that they had to apply or do.
Mhm.
So they think that they're doing the right thing. So
Yep.
they won't see the end consequence because they don't see like 5 or 10 steps ahead of them. But like that initial process that they started, I mean, they're being part of like what would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of what-
absolutely.
Of what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy, man. And that's, you know, you called it with the compartmentalization, because that is exactly how it works. That's part of the pyramid scheme of control. And, you know, you have these people who are in the apex of that control system, and those people are the ones who have the power because they have a knowledge differential over everyone else in the rest of that pyramid scheme, that compartmentalization.
Yeah.
And those people who are taking the orders from the top down, they think that they're doing, like you said, they think that they're doing the right thing, and they really only have a piece of the puzzle. They don't understand how the whole thing works. They only understand how their little part works. And it's very difficult, but like just speaking like this, just helping people understand how a structure even works. I think that helps and simplify and paint a picture in people's minds that this is just to have that knowledge helps us understand that it really is up to us if we want to understand how this whole structure operates, and understand that there are a few who do run everything because they have the knowledge, they understand how it all works.
Yeah.
And that's a very, for me, that was a very difficult thing to wake up to, because I always thought like, oh, it's the people run everything. Yeah. But then I realized like, okay, well, there is truth to that. People do run everything, but they don't realize what we don't realize is that there's a structure built into our mind. So this whole power structure is built into every single mind in the whole world, pretty much. And if we allow ourselves to have that power structure built into our mind, we will go along with that power structure. And that's why we're dominated all the time. We are constantly swayed to go this way or go that way most of the time. We're balkanized. We're easily balkanized.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say that's why like even like the smallest choices that you make are important, because we were talking about this earlier too. Sometimes we feel that as one person we can't make a difference, but if you really think about it, like just one person maybe not complying to the whole structure, one person to like just ruin the whole pyramid.
I always think about that little Asian guy.
It's like one person.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In
front of the tanks.
Yeah, that's why I have to say. Yeah, it's like the one guy sneaking into the Megazord and just like throwing that the wrench and just taking the whole thing down.
Yeah.
It's like it only takes like one person to disobey, to like not comply, to like for the whole thing not to work.
For sure.
That's what I think.
True.
I think the Rittenhouse thing, like I'm getting vibes that it's sort of like a message to anyone that wants to stand up to whatever mob. Like, we'll try to make an example out of you no matter what.
Yep.
Like, just look how he's been portrayed from day one, and for no reason. Like this could have been a non-story.
Reminds me too.
What?
I'm gonna take it back to when I was like a little kid, because I'm always thinking about like when I was a kid. That's why I relate to these stories.
Yeah.
Because even like I don't know if this happened to you guys, like when you were playing like in recess, like on the monkey bars or something, and then somebody was chasing you, was bugging you. Like I used to get bullied a lot, so I would always get chased by somebody. Somebody's always bullying me, like trying to like beat me up or just do something to me, and I would always get in trouble, even though I was the one running away or defending myself. Or like doing something. As soon as I retaliated, like I punched them or like threw something, threw sand in their eyes, then that's when I would get in trouble. So it's like the same thing. It's like as soon as I would defend myself over like this bigger kid that was like twice as big as me, then I would get in trouble. I'd have to sit down on the bench while the other kid was like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing. It's like they propped up all these like delinquents, all these. So that's why I can relate with it. And that's why there's so many degenerates out there, because
I mean,
you can't relate it because
because one of the guys that he did shoot was like a convicted pedophile. So
yeah, three or 5 children.
I have like the fucking thing about him, but
it goes back to your Hegelian dialectic. From your how does it go again? Like the
problem reaction solution.
Yeah, like the same thing.
The problem is created, and then the people are like, "There's gotta be some kind of justice."
Yeah.
How is this problem created too? Like if you go even like further back, like a lot of these people were released early because of the whole COVID thing. Remember, like the governors releasing a lot of like these inmates like early because of COVID and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So it's
Yeah.
You're just stacking chaos on top of chaos and on top of chaos to create more. So they're organizing or they're ruling through chaos, and people don't even realize that. Like for example, too, like with California, I have to bring this up, was that they were blaming the reason why people left California was because of climate change. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? And this is after like all these like lockdowns and all this other stuff, all these like draconian rules that were imposed on us. You don't think maybe that had something to do with it?
Yeah.
It's climate change. So like it's like they create this problem, like they just keep stacking more problems. It's like, oh no, and the solution is going to be this other thing, which is going to be another problem.
I saw an article the other day where it was like there's an increase in heart problems from
I remember that
medical marijuana, and I'm like, that like that all of a sudden all these athletes who are dropping dead and having heart problems. They just started smoking weed right before they had their heart attack. Sure.
The one article, I don't know where I saw it, was like very similar. I thought you were gonna bring that one up. Was that like babies were beginning to increase like in heart attacks or myocarditis or something?
I didn't even hear about
because
that.
of climate change. So it's very similar. So they're blaming climate change for like something else that they're saying that the jab has created already. So they keep creating all these problems, and they say like, oh, okay, the solution is going to be this time. This time it's going to work.
Yep.
Have you been seeing because I was thinking of doing a video on like a response video to like some late night show, but like have you been seeing people like downplay inflation lately? Like some people have been like trying to explain that it's good in the long run and shit like that, and
Psaki.
Yeah. But I've even seen there was I think it was like an MSNBC article, like saying that like inflation is good or something like that. And I don't know what, I haven't read it, but
I forget like the exact words that somebody said like on the news too, where it's like it's only temporary.
Yeah.
But we don't know when it's gonna end. It's like, well, that means that it's just gonna keep getting worse.
Yeah, but like
we're not like really producing anything out here. I mean, like we're hardly producing anything now.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think so. Yeah. But
I mean, it's just obviously this whole Great Reset BS is definitely trying to sell us on the idea of the digital currency world.
Yeah.
And with the blockchain and the NTF and all that stuff. And I'm definitely not somebody who really understands that stuff yet, but I see the blatant opportunity that arose for them to implement this digital currency government, because that's what it is. It's just another way it's just another system of control of our currency. And I see a lot more cons in it than I do pros, but I don't know. It's just it's just messed up what they had to do to us in order for us to go into this this new system.
Yeah.
Because think about it. Ever since this whole thing started, it's about distancing us. It's about covering our mouths. It's just like there's no more. Everything has to be digital now. Like us even having this conversation, which we should have been doing this before this. I mean, people were doing this before this whole thing happened. But I like that we can have this kind of communication. This is an excellent tool for communication, and so that this is a good thing that came out of it. But at the same time, it's also it comes from us having to, distance ourselves, so that way we're so afraid of any physical thing, touching each other, touching money, and now we are going into the digital currency era.
Yeah.
So it's just
it's like they're inverting everything.
Yeah,
it's like
a total inversion.
A total inversion where there's like a disconnection of like people like interaction with each other. It's like you can't even like, to take it back to the days, like you can't go to somebody and be like, okay, I have this cow here, like I'll give you my cow for like whatever it is that you have, and then you can't, like, there's no exchange of like value of like goods anymore. It's all like, oh no, you have to go through like this digital currency. It's like, why am I going to take your cow when I have all these what's those things called, those digital currency, cryptocurrency. Oh, I have like cryptocurrency, I can buy like a house with I don't need your cow, I don't need you can buy like a million cows. Who's going to control like the way that digital currency is controlled? It's like, it's not going to be you. It's like you have independence over your value when you're doing the work, when you're actually offering something of value to somebody else. You're giving them part of your property. But, like they're trying to take away people from, and like the value that you can give to somebody is not going to be worth anything, because they're going to be, oh no, well, they're just going to give people that are more compliant more digital currency. It's like, okay, you're not compliant, I'm going to give this person. So it's just like we're getting sucked into this inverted world that doesn't really have any value.
I've heard people talk about like, we're on our way to a social credit system, but like I would argue that we're already we've been there since the mask. Like the mask has been sort of like our little gateway toward it. Like if you have a mask on, a business will serve you or whatever, they'll be nicer to you. Like it's sort of just been the case for a long time, and to see it like become reality here, it's wild, man.
The one thing too that I keep wanting to bring up, that I keep forgetting, is that the whole mask thing too. Like when I work and I do these events, it's like I'm already seeing like this divide with like masks, where they'll hire you, or they'll hire like caterers, or hire like entertainment, like they'll hire you to come draw, and it pisses me off that it's always like all these people that were hired that are wearing the mask, like the servers and everybody else that's there, they're not wearing a mask. It's like, what the hell? It's like, I'm not like, I didn't get paid to wear a mask. Like I got paid to come and draw. The same thing with these caterers. They're here to cater to you and bring you food and drinks, not to like put on a mask and like juggle like a little gesture. It feels already like kind of like it's like, oh, are you a king or something? It's like, no, it's like, I didn't get hired to wear a mask. I got hired to do what I was contracted to do.
My contract states that I do not wear any face coverings, and I do not give out my medical information. So it's just plain and simple. I'm not complying with this shit, and I really just, like you said earlier, it takes one person to stand up and say something, and if that one person has to be me, you, or anyone else, then so be it. Because it's like my love for myself goes very deep. Now, obviously, when we're living in a world that is just like you said, so inverted, you do your best in degrees. You do what you can when you can, and as long as each one of us is trying to be a better version of ourselves and respect ourselves more than anything, more as we continue in this life, that to me is where love really is, because love is the opposite of fear, and fear is the driver that is making people do these things to themselves. Like the other day, I did an event, and like you said, all these people are wearing masks and it's funny. This is hilarious. I mean, it's sad, but hilarious. all these people. I did this event at a bar, big bar, and when I got there, the event hadn't started, but everyone at the bar was not wearing a mask. But when the event started, the boss comes through and tells everybody, all right, put on your mask. And of course, doesn't say anything to me because I'm contracted to not wear a mask. But then I'm like, this is is this really happening? And then because I hadn't seen that before. I mean, I figured it was, but it's like there's this grand virtue signaling going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean that's a video that I'm actually working on is virtue signaling. But there was a girl who was working the event who was she was the server of the food, and I took a chance because I could tell that she was a little bit of a warm spirit, and I'm like, I took a chance because obviously, you know, I put my business on the line by speaking about this shit. But when the time kind of you know, there wasn't anybody else around, wasn't busy, I just simply asked her, hey, look, I know this might sound unprofessional, but how do you feel about not having to wear a mask around all these people and then having to put a mask on when all these people come in? And she's like, oh, you know, it's just part of the protocol, you know, just, and she's like being real nice. And so I just start, like, she allows me to start talking about what's going on in the world. And she was just really kind with me. But I was like, you know, what's your thought about the vaccine and people having to have the vaccine in order to get a job? And she's like, well, you know, I don't really have an opinion about it. I just, you know, I just say, well, you know, if you're going to put something in me, just put it in and get it over with. And I'm like, but did you do any, you know, research on it or anything? She's like, you know, they know what they're doing and all this. And she's just, you know, very like beaten. You could tell her soul is just beaten down. And she's, and it's just like, well, how come you have to wear a mask if you've had your vaccine? She's like, oh, like, you know, like I said, it's just protocol, you know, it's what we got to do. It's a mandate. And I was like, damn, this is, I mean, like, you have to be this, because this, what people don't understand, this whole event is about breaking the will of the human soul. Yeah. It's about breaking the human will. And they're doing an excellent job at it. That girl was, I mean, she was really kind and sweet. And she wasn't afraid of me. Which it's like, I said, I'm not vaccinated. Hope that doesn't scare you. She's like, oh no, you're fine. I'm vaccinated, you know. I'm, you know, and I'm thinking in my head, man, I shouldn't be telling her this shit. She could just, like, you know, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But that crosses my mind because I'm like, damn, you know, I'm living in a world where I have to fear like telling somebody that I'm not vaccinated. That's weird. And then, you know, of course I'm like, whatever, who gives a fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, I do think a lot of, like, just the mask and now the mandates, I think it's just a way to, like, try to weed out any troublemaker of any kind. Like, I was let go of my job because of this, and I remember, like, a couple days before, like, they sent out an email and said this would happen and respond by this day, and I responded with, I'm not doing it. And HR called me in, and, like, you know, they were telling me what the deal is and shit like that. And I was trying to tell them, like, you guys know what you're kind of participating in? Like, do you guys ever thought about that? And they were just like, they just gave, like, you know, just corporate answers, like, well, I mean, it's the city's decision, blah, 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 or whatever. And, yeah, and even towards the end, like, they were telling me not to talk to people and not to, like, spread my ideas and shit like that. And, yeah, I have it recorded just in case.
My religion is the only religion here, okay? So don't bring your religion into our workspace.
Yeah. But it was weird. I was just like, beliefs of what people should make their own decision? Is that really extreme? What the fuck? But
damn, man. So they officially terminated you, or?
yeah, because of it. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good that you allow them to do that instead of you quitting, because that's what
Yeah.
I've been telling people. Do not quit, because you can actually from what I've heard from other sources that you can file a lawsuit for being terminated for not having
Mm-hmm.
your vaccine, or having to wear a mask. You can actually file a lawsuit, and a lot of people have done it, and they are winning, some of them. But I haven't followed that closely, but that's definitely something I would tell people to look further into, because it's, the thing is, it's all hearsay. It's just, a mandate is not a, a
It's not a
law that
law.
has,
Yeah.
right. So if it's not a law and it's just a mandate, then to be terminated, to be fired for something unlawful like that, then there has to be, something you can do. Like, I hate that it has to even go to court, but you might want to do that just because you do live in this country, and you do have, some kind of power in that way, but we're being told that we don't. And, there's a reason for that. It's because they want to completely destroy this economy in order to bring in this new reset garbage.
Yeah. I think they want to destroy the economy, but I think they just want to destroy, like I said, anyone that's like a quote unquote troublemaker. I think that's the goal.
For sure.
Like, I mean, this is going to separate good people, quote unquote, from bad people. Like, just these mandates.
Sure.
Like, if I want to get a sandwich at a shop, I have to like call and ask them if they would let me in. Like, there's no good that's going to come out of that if that continues.
Well, this whole system and these people that are taking these orders and pushing them on people.
Yeah.
These people are showing us how evil and dumb they are. Because for one, they're okay. If they are actually pushing this on people and don't really know what's going on, that means that they are not critically thinking.
Yeah.
They are not asking any big questions. They're not using their heart. They're not thinking that, hey, there might be some BS here. I don't think that anyone has the right to tell me how to run my business in this way. Maybe I need to look further into it. No, they don't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they do know those things and they're firing people, they're evil. They're evil people. Yeah. And they're part of the problem. They're supporting this whole, both types of those people are supporting this evil mandate that is taking place,
Yeah.
It's like they're like emotionally sedated.
Yeah.
It's like they're hearing like this song that's playing over in their head. It's like, we are the world, make it a better place. And they're just like, oh yeah, get your vaccine, and we'll be all together and each other. They're just.
That's true. It is true. Yeah, they really believe that we can, sing on the Titanic while it's sinking, and everything, and then the Titanic will just magically, come back, and the hole will be filled, and everybody will make it back to land.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like I try to ask people, like, when has this gone too far for you, like, personally? Have you ever given that any thought? And it worries me that, like, I haven't gotten a straight answer from anybody. Like, they just never thought of it. Like, I mean, we're at a point where people are going to be segregated because of some shit like this. Like, is this too far or no? Like, when have you seen the stop sign for you? And, man.
I would say for most people, or no, I don't want to say most people. I would say for a lot of people, they will go to their grave not having an opinion on what's too far. And that's I would say that's the reality of it. I mean, you look at Mao Zedong and Stalin, and you look at those like those Russian, China regimes of communism, and you see how people just were like, yeah, we don't care, just bring more communism, we're not going to question anything. Well, hey, here's my gun, shoot me in the back of the head, I don't care.
Yeah.
As long as I can get my shot and go to the store and get my food and watch my TV. I mean, that's really where people's minds are at.
Yeah, like it's dangerous when like you have to like get permission from the state to live your life, and I don't know why people are just. I don't know if they're just scared to think about these things, or I don't know, man.
I've had people tell me, man, I don't agree with anything you're saying, and I wouldn't talk about that kind of. And the reason that I don't talk about anything like that anyway is because the government's watching me. I'm like, just by you having this conversation with me, the government's watching you.
Yeah.
They're watching you they're watching you be a degenerate, So how about that?
But I'm just trying to get an idea as like the regular person, like when are you going to start noticing what's going on, or I mean, are you ever going to, or like we said earlier before I started recording, like there's like to go on with this, like it requires you to like ignore certain things, and for someone like me, like I can't just ignore it. I can't live the rest of my life ignoring what's going on and just put a happy face and get a paycheck every week. Like I would just be dead inside if that was the case. And speaking for myself, that would be bad. But for the average person, like, if they're living like that, like, I mean, how do they view themselves? And I don't know. It's a bummer to think about.
What I've noticed ever since I started, coming online and realizing the evil in the world is that people are self-loathing. They don't really truly care about themselves. And that's because we have been conditioned to not care about ourselves. So that way we are easily controlled. I mean, there's just no other way to really explain that any clearer. And as we become people who start to care about what's going on, we notice there's suffering going on in the world. We realize that there is evil going on in the world. We don't want to be part of that anymore. We say, you know what, enough is enough. I am saying no, I'm resisting. And I just want, like me personally, I just want to be left alone. And there's a lot of people that feel like me.
Yeah.
I want to be left alone. Please leave me alone. But see, these types of minds think like, no, we can't leave you alone because you have something, they don't even want to acknowledge that someone can actually fight and learn and become a better person, because negative people hate that. So they just want instant gratification. They want to be as, enlightened or as good as, somebody who they, might look up to. They want to just be that person and know everything all at once. But instead, what they do is they start to, they just believe what authority figures say. They just believe them. They just believe everything that they say instead of doing their own research. And because they're not doing their own research on themselves or what's going on in the world, they really don't care. And I've heard people say that. Most people, unfortunately, sadly, most people that I have come in contact with have told me straight to my face, I don't care. And it is so, I mean, when I hear that, it like breaks my heart, because obviously, like anybody who actually does care about what's going on within themselves and within the world, it really hurts to see somebody in pain so much, that they're suffering so much, they've given so much of their soul away, that they're just like, I don't care about anything. Just leave me the fuck alone. And I'm definitely gonna vote. Like, I'm gonna vote. I'm not gonna care, but I'm gonna vote, but I'm not gonna care. And it's like there's a weird contradiction in people's minds. It's so bizarre. But I'm just telling you that if people actually started to care, they actually started to resist the evils, we would see this big increase. But it takes that personal responsibility to recognize, I am a human being, I have rights, and people need to leave me alone and stop trying to tell me how to live my life. As long as I respect their rights, leave me alone. But no, it's not like that, because we're this, we have this collective politically collective mentality that we all have to obey all these arbitrary laws and unjust laws. And I mean, it's just it's madness. And it really does come down to the individual. It really does. And that's what people don't want to see it that way.
You brought up so many good points, it's cutting off a little bit, but a lot of people don't want to take accountability for themselves. It's like people have gotten so demoralized that a lot of people don't believe in themselves anymore. Like they don't want to work hard for something. They don't want to work hard to get a job. They want the government to do everything for them. They don't want to have to struggle or suffer. They just want everything at their lap, and they're they hate themselves, and they're miserable. And those people tend to project too. For example, I have a friend that works at the supermarket, and he says something kind of funny to somebody at the supermarket told my friend something because he's really miserable. That the guy just walked up to him and he's like, you know what? And he said this in Spanish, so I'm just translating. It's like, doesn't it depress you that you're so short? It's stuff like that. But he said it's just the guy is projecting so much his own misery that it's kind of funny. But he's projecting his misery so much that he wants even if he has to find somebody else that's miserable to share that with them. It's a lot of people feel lonely because they feel miserable, but they can't find other people to share their misery. But if they find other people to share their misery, they're just whether they're happy or complacent. And so it's just them projecting their inner feelings on other people instead of having pride in themselves and building themselves up. And the makeup of this country has changed so much purposely because of the government, because of what's going on with the southern border. We're getting all of these people coming in. We don't even know who's coming in. It's not just people from Mexico. We're getting people from Haiti. We're getting people from God knows where we're getting these people from. And then we've imported all these refugees from Afghanistan. And it's just throwing everything. It's destabilized the country, and the country is really losing its identity. And that's why a lot of people have just completely just been demoralized. And that's why there's just so many people who's hey man, I want you to suffer just like me. It's so they're projecting, and those are the people who are manipulated the most, and the ones who are complacent and the first ones in line to get that jab.
That's not because a lot of the people I know that are super annoying SJWs, they're usually miserable people. They don't have much going on. They're not into anything fun. They're just they're just, I don't know, they're not people that you would want to hang around with. They're just terrible.
I was gonna say about my friend too. It's he's happy. Like, he has like a really cute girlfriend. He's happy. He works. And I mean, he's got everything going on for him. Like, so it's like this other guy is just projecting onto him. So I think we need to be cautious that we're gonna continue to get more people like that are gonna try and like throw us off balance, because there's a lot of people who are projecting their insecurities and their misery onto other people who are more happy, more positive. Because if you think about it, like if you're depressed and you're just like, you don't want to see other people happy.
Yeah.
You don't want to see anybody else happy. You're just like,
Right. Well, I mean, that even just to go back onto Rittenhouse, I mean, you look at the overwhelming amount of people who hate that kid just because he's white, he has a gun, and he's, underage or whatever. And, and it's like, they want this person to be just as miserable as they are, because
Exactly.
like, oh, well, I'm being a good citizen not having a firearm, so this person needs to be put away for life because he used a firearm and murdered people. They won't use the word self-defense, because they don't have any idea what that means. And I wanted to actually wanted to say something about that that I noticed, which is really interesting. This whole argument about, like, people always say, oh, why do you need that many bullets? Well, for one, it's none of your business how many bullets I have or how many bullets people use. But I will say this particular case had really demonstrated why you should have lots of bullets.
Yeah.
Because when you're being chased by a mob, you're going to need as much firepower as possible.
Yeah.
I know.
And so I thought that beautifully demonstrated why that argument is completely flawed.
Yeah.
But it just amazes me that people are just so dishonest. And it typically is people who hate themselves. They're the most dishonest people.
Yeah, because like even like online, like you go through some of these pages, and I've been really good at not responding. But you look at some of these people who don't like Rittenhouse, or that think he's like a murderer, that he did something wrong when it was all self-defense, clearly. And you could tell, like, they just hate themselves. Like, you go on their page, you're like, damn, this guy's really miserable. Like, this guy just looks miserable. Or this person is just not happy. You can tell, you go on their page, and just like the stuff that they're posting, just like they look like so unhappy.
Do you guys?
What's up?
Do you guys know if Rosenbaum was like I know that he was, he had to go to court because he raped 5 kids, right? But like, how is it that you can rape 5 kids and be out of prison? Does that? Am I missing something? I don't get it.
I think he was recently let out, wasn't he?
Okay, but still, like
yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But I mean, probably some weird good behavior shit in prison. I don't know. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of this is all by design.
Yeah.
Like, none of this is a coincidence. It's all by design. It's all by design. He was not a BLM protester. He didn't care about, like, who was it that they're protesting? Yeah. Black Lives Matter. Like, none of those people that were there, like, a lot of those people that were, they didn't care.
Right.
They were just there to, like, indulge in, like, violence and looting and whatever it is that they enjoy. It was like perfect cover for them.
Was the 3 guys that were shot, Rosenbaum, the skateboard guy, and Gas, what's his name, Gas, whatever?
Gas
Gauge, like,
Gas Gauge.
Are they, I don't think they're all native to Kenosha, aren't they? Or are they, do you know?
I think you might be right. I don't think they are.
Because when I hear people say that Kyle like he crossed state lines, I'm like, I think the other guys also didn't either. So it's not relevant.
Gas gauge guy had a gun, right?
Yeah, he had a fucking Glock to his head right before he got shot.
Yeah, that's the thing. He admitted too.
Yeah.
That too.
Right.
But it's funny. He admitted in court, but a couple days, like a week or so, or maybe a couple days ago, he did like some interviews, and he did one for Good Morning America, and like I think he changed the story for that. Interview. It's a weird interview because like they cut it in weird places. Mm-hmm. Like that they cut out parts where he fucked himself over. Yeah, man, but it's weird.
Like Nate.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like Nate was saying earlier, I don't know if we were recording, like he was talking about that the prosecutor was just kind of like fishing for like these little like clips of things that would make Rittenhouse look bad, and it's just lie after lie in order to see like if he can get like the defense team to like stumble or like say something that they can incriminate, even if it's like a few seconds. And a few seconds is actually perfect because then that's what they broadcast on TV, and people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he did that!" And
they just
it's so easy. Like you look at The Simpsons, like with the Venus, the Milo. Remember episode where they edited the video and made him look like he was like a rapist. It's like they're showing you all this predictive programming that they're showing it to you in your face.
Did you see that?
You still ignore. A lot of people are ignoring it.
Did you see that? I think MSNBC, like, they showed the prosecutor's closing arguments, but then they didn't show the defense's closing arguments. Like, they skipped that whole part.
Yeah, very convenient.
I mean, they're all CNN, man. Holy shit, they're just lying through their teeth.
Yeah, man.
I mean, they always do. And, it's so funny when people take up for any of these mainstream media outlets and say like, they're always, their journalism is top notch. It's hilarious. It's such a circus. But anyway, about the prosecutor, he had this big list. I think it was yesterday. He had this big list of all the things that Rittenhouse did this is why he should be, put in prison. And I would say about 98% of everything that guy said was a lie, a blatant lie. And here, I just want to really explain this. The truth of the matter is the prosecutor did not have any evidence at all that could put Rittenhouse in prison at all. None. I mean, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that proves that Rittenhouse is completely clean. Mm-hmm. That it was all in self-defense. He did nothing wrong. But here's what happens when I don't understand why this particular case, just like OJ's case, is it allows the cameras of these media oracles to be in there with them, which I find really interesting how they can have this live feed just for this particular case. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we're not stupid. We know that there is, I can't say like it is definitely happening, but we're not dumb. There is definitely more than likely a deal going on with this prosecutor where they know that if the prosecutor is losing the match, losing this whole thing, then what they'll do is they'll say, hey, look, you have to go in there and make sure that everything that you are prosecuting the defendant for is making him sound guilty. Yeah. And make it sound true. Mm-hmm. And when he goes through and lists all those things off, the camera's on him. He's saying all those things, and he is basically broadcasting the very things that the mainstream media can and probably are using and have used for sure.
Yeah.
That they will make Rittenhouse look bad because it doesn't matter about this case at all who wins and who loses, because as long as they can convince the majority of the people of the world that Rittenhouse is guilty, it doesn't matter if Rittenhouse wins in the courtroom, he loses in the whole world.
Yeah.
And that is all they need to persuade the minds to get people to hand over their firearms, because they're like, well, we can't win in court, really, you know. So they're doing everything they can to persuade the minds of the people, because they know that that is the only real way, the only solution they have to get people to bend over and, you know, take it up the arse.
Yeah.
Well, it's like basketball. Like the prosecutor is throwing the alley-oop to the media that's taking the ball and dunking it, because they're trying to get those talking points, because they got all those talking points from the prosecutor that handed it over to the media.
Right.
So just dunking is like, oh yeah, we got this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's also to get, I mean, this is all about getting another war started. Yeah. This whole thing is it's a perfect, like, if Rittenhouse wins, then the left, the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, will get really upset and probably do some crazy shit. And if Rittenhouse loses, then you're going to get an uprising of, you know, these extremists on the right. You're like, and, you know, and I don't believe in this judicial system. I don't believe in courtroom, but I do understand that if Rittenhouse loses, if he loses, I understand why people will get really upset and want to do something crazy, because this really, I mean, if he loses, really what it's saying is you have no rights to self-defense, period. The end of the story. So get over it, go crazy, act like a insane person, and, you know, watch the whole world burn, you know, because that's what they want. They want to, this whole, you know, situation, this whole trial is about implementing some kind of divisive war, and it's perfect. It's a perfect tool, you know.
It's a win-win for them.
Yeah, it is.
For the league, they're like, they're like salivating, like, fight among each other. Go.
Yeah, they're definitely circle jerking up there. But look, the thing is that the solution that I wish I could just broadcast. I mean, I'm broadcasting, but I'm not, like, I just feel that it's not. The solution is not getting out fast enough to people, but the solution, it has to start somewhere. So the solution is to become conscious and aware. Oops, seems like your stream's having,
all right, you're good. I think came back.
Okay. Well, just to make, like, people need to become conscious of all sides of things and be honest with themselves, start to find their care, start to realize, like, hey, there's much more to this world that there is, other than our, you know, one-sided news source that we're always looking at. You know, go listen to all sides, because if you don't, you're going to be stuck in one paradigm or the other, and you are going to choose a side unconsciously, and it might be the wrong side. You know, you might be choosing the wrong side, and that's, and I think that's what most people are doing. They just, because everybody's just like, well, you know what, they know what they're doing, and I support them because they represent me, and you know, whatever. And it's like, okay, well, then you're gonna get what's coming to you, you know. And I hate to break it to you, I hate to sound like that type of person, that type of voice, but if you're not really doing your research on your own to really understand this stuff, then, you know, there's consequences for that. And I think a lot of people really just don't believe that, for one, but they just deep down, they don't understand it. And that's why we find ourselves in this whole situation to begin with.
I'm trying to think. I mean, because, like, I get a vibe from people when I talk about these things that they're kind of scared, and there is this, like, weird, like, I don't know what you call it, like a social pressure they get from deviating outside of, like, whatever the collective wants, or whatever mainstream news wants, or whatever, and,
Yep.
you know, it's weird to see people take that so seriously, like it's this living entity, but it's, you know, it, like, you could just ignore it, just, you know. I wonder, like, how bad does the line from the mainstream have to be for people to start noticing how bad it is? You know, when this case has literal, you can't ask for anything better as far as a case, as far as video evidence. Like, that's the holy grail of evidence. And when that's available for free online, and no one could give any shits to, like, look it up, but they just want to have an opinion because it's, you know, what The View said or some shit like that. I mean, like, you're kind of ruining yourself by being that person, you know what I mean? And fuck, man, like, it really, it's disappointing to see people, like, I don't know, like, view themselves so low that they can't, you know, branch out and think for themselves, you know. Man, I don't know. But also, like, I have to say, like,
I'm telling you, yeah.
I think a lot of this, like, would just, and I'm not sure where I got this from, but, like, I generally do think that if people just, like, stopped watching any mainstream television or anything for, like, give it, like, 3 to 6 months, like, I think things will be a lot better. You know, just like if they just took the time to, like, do their own kind of shit with this case and just understand what could have happened, they wouldn't care and they would move on. But I think there's just this weird addiction that people have with virtue signaling and going by what, like, mainstream news has to say, and I don't know.
The one thing I wanted to point out is that the footage that we have were all from people that are, like, independent or more independent, like the guy from Slightly Offensive and, like, a bunch of other, like, more independent, like, people that just go out to these protests objective. Some of them objective, and just, they're trying to just capture stuff on there. Like, it's none of it is mainstream news. So think about, like, if they weren't there, like, they'd be able to even, like, manipulate this even further. And what's crazy is, even with this, these home videos, like, people still think that Rittenhouse is guilty, that he purposely murdered them. Like, I mean, with all this footage, they're still able to have control. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's creepy when, like, people just want this truth to be the truth when there's evidence that goes against that. Like, it's like they need him to be guilty for reasons I can't even understand why. Like, you don't know the kid, you know what I mean? So just, like, you have to treat everyone fair, and if there's evidence that clears him, you have to judge him on that, not because, you know, fucking Jimmy Kimmel said he's a white supremacist or some shit.
And I know, like, a smug little look too.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, he's a white supremacist.
Yeah. God, I can't stand that guy.
I can't stand him.
I saw a clip. I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw a clip earlier, a headline that said in LA, you know, if someone is breaking in your house, just let them break in and take your things. And then call the police. I'm like, okay, so what you're stating is the police are siding with the robber.
Yeah.
That's really what you're saying. And that, like, to me, it really is just, I mean, they're seeing how well this whole Australia thing has turned out.
Yeah.
They're seeing how, like, oh, hey, look, Australia turned in their firearms. Now look at them. They can't even protect. They can't do shit.
Yeah.
You know, they can't protect themselves against this tyranny that has completely turned their whole country upside down. And all this, check this out. All this because this is fun. I didn't know this until I really looked into this. Less than 1,200 people in Australia, the actual people that live there, less than 1,200 of them have died from this virus. And you know how many people are in Australia? 25 million.
Yeah.
25 million people. And they just completely turned that whole country upside down because of fewer than 1,200 deaths from this virus.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that like Australia is like, as a population, is relatively like one of the more healthier populations compared to the US, like as far as being physically fit. I mean,
if you're comparing New Yorkers, you know, New Yorkers are very unhealthy people. And that's who they base the whole country on New York.
Yeah.
You know, and New
So
York
that pizza.
Right, yeah. Well, that pizza's good.
Exactly.
So I understand, but you know, still, it's just insane that you know, this is. But if anything, this is probably helping us understand that the reason that they haven't taken us completely over in this country is because we still do have firepower, lots of firepower.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, there's not as much. Like, you look all over the world right now, you have so much. You know, I'm not saying that I really advocate for protesting. I'm not, like, I don't really think protesting does anything. It's like, hey, I'm mad, master, change the rules, master. And it's like, I don't think they really give shit about you and what you want. They're going to do what they're going to do until you actually stand up. And unfortunately, physical force is what's going to have to be used, because they're just going to keep torturing us till the end. But like, you look at all these other countries, you know, the UK, you look at Israel, you look at lots of places in Europe, and then you look at Australia, and they have all these enormous protests going on, and that doesn't even tell anybody around. Well, that's because it's not being broadcast live. Of course, you have to go find that in the underground news. But it's like like people who watch that in America, they're like, they're very, well, for one, very few are watching that because it's not broadcast, but also they just, like, it doesn't even like click in their head like, hey, I think something's wrong here.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, I think a lot of people are just like, well, that's what they get for not, you know, getting vaxxed. You know, it's like, man, what a shitty attitude to have.
And the other thing too, to go back to the Rittenhouse thing too, is that it's, I guess, in a funny way, it's I think, like, when people are hearing like what the news is saying, like the mainstream news is saying, people have different imaginations based off of their bias. So I can imagine like what they're thinking, like when like somebody that doesn't do the research or doesn't look at the videos and is just hearing what the mainstream media is saying, they probably like imagine like some white guy like on top of a roof, like kidding and like taking out like people, like, got him, blackie. Got another blackie, And when it's on the contrary, you watch the video, this guy is running for his life. And like
and he was even
in on him.
He was even offering like medical to like some of the rioters. There's some footage of him like doing that.
Trying to put out fires, trying to just like, he really was legitimately protecting businesses.
Yeah. Right.
You know? And you know, I like, what's so funny is how many people I've heard literally in my face tell me, well, he was underage. So, he definitely is going to get what's coming to him. Like, what?
Yeah, it's even worse.
What kind of argument is that? Like, this is a young kid, man. He was more adult in the way that he handled things than probably even me in that situation. And I know how to, defend myself and handle myself. I think he did better than most adults.
Yeah. I assume you saw the what was it, the persecutor held the gun towards the jury the other day. Was it yesterday or?
Yeah, in their direction, yeah.
Yeah, and he had like this finger on the trigger, which a lot of people say is a big fucking no. Oh, wait.
Yep.
So,
we lost.
Did he sign out or? See if he signed out or.
I think it might have been he said he's signing out.
I'm trying to see.
Or he probably just lost connection.
Probably.
I know that there was a little bit of issue there for a minute.
I guess we'll start ending it because it's getting kind of late.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, man, we can go more into this. I mean, a lot of this, I think, is just completely media driven. And that's a whole topic for a whole nother conversation.
I think we opened up a lot of really good points, and there's definitely a lot that we can expand on if you want to do another show here in the near future.
Yeah, I guess let me know and we'll continue because this is like I said, this is a bigger case than I think a lot of people even think about as far as what it means to not just self-defense, but like just standing up against the mob, the collective, because just not only how he's treated by the mainstream news or media, just how people that defend him for very good reasons, how they're portrayed. And this is important. This shit's a lot more important. And
it is.
Like where on any mainstream platform at all is a conversation like this even being held? Like I can't fucking think of anything.
Yeah.
HBO, I doubt it. Fucking, I don't know. And
nobody owned for sure.
Anything, I can't think of anything on mainstream platform that even, stated the self-defense angle for Rittenhouse. All I've known is just that he's guilty. He's a, white supremacist or whatever the fuck. And, that's a problem if people don't realize how big a problem that is. Like when the story is so narrow on huge platforms. Yeah. But anyways, you want to say something?
What?
Did you want to add?
Yeah, I was agreeing with you. It's just it's all being played out like Benevolent Asshole said earlier, by design. And this design is something that I think people just don't like. Some people will see it on one side and then some people will see it from the other side. But I think it's important to see it from both sides.
Yeah.
How it's all being played out. And, I feel that if we're not looking deeper into this kind of thing and what it's not only what is it telling us on a deeper level within ourselves and our rights and all that stuff, but also to see it from the perspective of what is it blinding us from?
Yeah.
What's going on right now while this case is going on that's taking our attention away from something that's even more important, So it's just, I mean, you got to take it one step at a time, but you also got to be like, man, I wish I had like 10 eyes just so I could keep track of everything.
Yeah.
Because it's so hard for my mind to wrap my head around everything all at once. But we start somewhere, and, it really takes care and patience, and, it takes time and attention. So,
yeah. I am glad that this is...
yeah, man, I'll let you get going.
Yeah, man. I'll see you another time.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll just end it. That's another episode of the Critical Introvert Show. Nate Cap, thank you for having on. We'll continue this conversation another time. If you guys are interested, check out his podcast, The CubbyWhole. And thank you for watching. Peace.